This is He Knows the Sport, bringing you that heat and that fire. All right, y'all. You guys got to pay attention to grand delusions or delusions grander of what's going on in the sport of boxing. And the reason why I say this is because we have what is held as evident and truth. Errol Spence and Terence Crawford. What's the dichotomy in that fight? Okay. Errol Spence is basically telling you guys, like you see in the thumbnail, believe the BS that you want. No one over here is ducking. You have Bob Arum that came out recently, and there's just a consistency of him constantly coming out to tell us him and Al Heyman's relationship has pretty much repaired. Pretty much has gotten to a point to where they are cohorts or cohorts, however you want to use the phrase. Y'all could correct me and if I'm not saying it the correct way, but basically they are co-companions or co-conspirators in making fights happen. They work together to make Mayweather and Pacquiao. They're working together right now to make Wilder and Fury. So conversations are had between these two guys. They're promoters. One is a promoter, one is an advisor. Correction. But they are the heads of their respective entities. Al Heyman a la PBC, Bob Arum a la Top Rank. Now, when you have a top rank CEO and a top rank head, you would think fight fans would just say, you know what? Okay, this is coming from the guy that's paying the checks. This is coming from the guy that's the head. No. They don't want to hear that. They want to come up with grand delusions of what they think boxing should look like. And what they don't understand, they're playing the role of the media for the media themselves. This is sad because now the media doesn't even have to do their job. This is what boxing has been regressed to. You have a bunch of promoters out here, a bunch of advisors out here. You have a bunch of people in high positions. They don't really have to do their jobs because they know that they have a bunch of delusional fight fans that are going to do the job for them. When you sit here and say that Terence Crawford is the boogeyman of the welterweight division, what proof do you have to denote that? When you sit here and say that Errol the True Spence is ducking Terence Crawford, what truth do you have to denote that? But here's the underlying truths. Bob Arum said that Al Heyman spoke to him last year. This is not coming from my mind and what I think and how I see things. This is coming from Bob Arum, the top-ranked CEO and promoter. This is the reason why I'm going to keep repeating his name, and I'm going to keep repeating Al Heyman's name, because clearly behind the scenes, they're talking. So if they're talking and pushing and negotiating for this fight, why don't fight fans do something that's smart and say, you know what, let's talk about the potential fight matchup between Spence and Crawford. Let's talk about how that fight will play out. Let's sit here and talk about other fights that need to happen within the division prior to this fight happening. No, they don't want to do that. They want to fall into the gimmick, and they want to fall into this thing in this pandering narrative terminology to say that Errol Spence is supposedly ducking Terence Crawford. Where? Because when they had their confrontation, there was mutual respect between both fighters. And then you have Terence Crawford that came out in his last statement. Notice he's been mute ever since he made the statement. Oh, Errol Spence is a good dude, and we negotiated and we agreed that the fight will happen. So Bob Arum says what he says. Terence Crawford says what he says. But then there's just this continual thing to talk about Errol Spence in the light of, oh, he's drinking and he's partying. How does that help the sport? I really want to know the underlying, answer behind that question. How do you guys think that that's helping the sport? Oh, Errol Spence, he's ducking He lost to Sean Porter when even Bob Arum said at worst it was 8-4. What are you guys talking about? All that's being asked and required, which is something that has always been something that is the staple of boxing, is Errol Spence is the most decorated welterweight, not Manny Pacquiao. And see, now this whole new nonsensical terminology of, oh, well, the two guys, Spence and Crawford, need to fight now so that they can earn the right to fight Manny Pacquiao. Are you kidding me? Manny Pacquiao's an older guy. He's AARP retirement Pac-Man style. Manny Pacquiao's on his last leg. He just got a WBA belt from a guy who just came back from injuries. We gotta keep it a buck here, man. We gotta call a spade a spade. He caught Keith Thurman at the right time. And even in that fight, we saw that if he takes it up a notch and fights a Errol Spence, he's gonna get exposed. So how is Manny Pacquiao, the guy who's on his last leg at the welterweight division, a guy who should already be retired, is a fighter that Spence and Crawford needs to fight first before they can fight him? Does that make any sense? That's reverse bias fanship mindset. There's a reason why I use the term reverse bias, detractors, and panderers. Let me explain why. Reverse bias, because in the sense of taking the form of bias and reversing your mind from the truth. Detractors detract you from what is real, authentic, and consistent. Panderers, pandering to something that doesn't hold validity and doesn't hold integrity. This is why the terminology reverse bias, aka detractors, aka panderers, is in existence because of this nonsense. When you have Bob Arum come out and say what he's saying about him and Al Heyman's relationship has mended, it speaks to the three-pronged monster of boxing: economics, politics, and pugilism. And how many times, how many months, how many videos has He Knows the Sport dropped to explain to you guys that this is how the wholehearted, unadulterated, and cutthroat truth-telling fashion of how boxing works? But nobody wanted to hear this. They want to just go into their grand delusions of what they think boxing is. And they wonder why the sport is in the gutter. They wonder why the sport is declining. They wonder why pay-per-view numbers are in a soft market. Because when you have fight fans that are sitting here saying, oh, send me that link on how I can go about and watch the fight for free. You're what's wrong with the sport. When you sit here and you say, this guy right here, he's a credible fighter, but that guy right here, he sucks. You're what's wrong with the sport. When you sit here and make up lies and say that Errol Spence is ducking Terence Crawford when you don't have no proof behind that, but you're just running your Rudy Poo in your plum brain mouth, and you're speaking out of dodo head ways, you're what's wrong with the sport of boxing. Because when you have Bob Arum and Terence Crawford telling you in multiple times that the fight is going to happen, it's just a matter of time, then that speaks to the fact that if this is a super fight fans, that you say that it is, then why doesn't it get built up to be a super fight? Where's the poise and the patience as fight fans to want this fight to be exactly what you want it to be? A super fight is supposed to be, by definition, a fight where you have two super fighters that are fighting for everything on the line. All of the marbles. And if that's not happening, how the heck is it a super fight? You see what I'm saying? Classic dolts and troglodytisms at its truest and its most properest levels. So I go back to what Bob Arum said. Him and Al Heyman have mended their fences, and the fight will happen. I go to what Terence Crawford said. Errol the True Spence is a good dude. We talked about it, and the fight will happen. So if this is what's coming out of Bob Arum and Terence Crawford's mouth, then you know what you guys got to do? You reverse bias, aka detractors, and aka panderers. Higgity hush, man. It's really that simple, folks. This is He Knows the Sport. Checking out.